Hey everyone. So I've seen some customers use the account of the Workfront Fusion administrator to configure the Workfront Fusion connection, and I think that's not a good practice because you never know when the Fusion admin can move out of the company, or in that case, his email ID will be deactivated and the connection will not work anymore, right? And all the scenarios might not work properly. Okay, so basically the best practice is to create a generic account, or let's say a service account, and using that account configure the Workfront Fusion connection. Okay, that's the best practice. So we'll go through the steps that you need to follow. Okay, this is one approach that you can follow to create a um, generic account. So this approach is basically to create a shared mailbox, and the shared mailbox will have an email ID, right? Using that email ID, we'll be configuring the Workfront Fusion connection. Okay, that is the approach that we are going to follow here, and let's go through the steps. The first step is to request a shared mailbox. Okay, so your company might have a process to create the shared mailbox. So maybe you might have to contact your IT team, or you might have to raise a ticket to the IT team to get this shared mailbox created. Okay, so that's the first step. So understand the process of creating a shared mailbox, and then follow the process and get the shared mailbox created. Okay, that's the first step. Next step is basically to add the mailbox to your Outlook. Okay, so you'll have to add the mailbox into your Outlook, because you'll be receiving an OTP in the shared mailbox during the Fusion connection configuration process. You'll be getting an OTP, and you might need that OTP to configure the Workfront Fusion connection. Okay, so the idea is basically to add that mailbox to your Outlook, and in order to do that, you need to be the admin of that mailbox. Okay, so make sure that you are the admin of the mailbox as well. Okay, that's the next step. Next step is basically to establish domain enforcement. So you need to go to settings. Okay. Um, um, okay, you need to go to admin console first of all and go to settings, and then click on domain enforcement and click on turn on. Okay, this is basically a temporary activity that we'll be doing, and we'll be rolling back this particular change once we configure the a Fusion connection. We can roll back this change. Okay, because in some cases it might create some problems in so in order to avoid that, we can revert this change once the connection is configured. Okay, using the shared mailbox email ID. Okay, next step is basically to add the mailbox to the exception list. So again, you need to go to admin console, go to settings, click on domain enforcement, and click on exception list, and then add the shared mailbox there in the exception list. Okay, that's the next step. Okay, and then next step is to assign system administrator role to the shared mailbox's email ID. Okay, so in order to do that, you need to add the user as a product profile administrator. Okay, I hope you know how to do that. If not, we will cover this in a separate session, but you need to assign the um, that particular email ID. You need to add this you need to assign this role, you need to assign this product profile administrator role to that shared mailbox's email ID. Okay, that's what you need to do there. Next step is basically check for welcome email. So once you do that, you'll get a welcome email. Just click on that, and then follow the instructions. Click next, create a profile and a password. In this particular process, you might be prompted to enter the verification code. You'll get the verification code in the shared mailbox. So capture the verification code from the shared mailbox, enter it during this particular process, and then get your profile and password created for the generic account, or generic account, or let's say service account, or in this case we are using a shared mailbox for the connection configuration. Okay, so next step is basically to configure the Workfront Fusion connection. Okay, using the shared mailbox's email ID. Okay, so just click on so you have to add a Workfront module, and you have to configure the connection. I hope you know how to do that. If not, we'll cover it in a different session, but this is what you need to do here. Okay, using the new email ID, using the shared share mailbox's email ID and the newly created password, create the Workfront Fusion connection. Okay. Once that is done, you can test the Workfront Fusion connection. Maybe you can create a new scenario and then add a Workfront module. You can add a search module and try to search for a project or something and make sure that the connection is working fine. Okay, so that's the next step. So this is what you need to follow. So the idea is basically to make sure that you have a generic account for your Fusion connection. Okay, you should never have a personal account for your Fusion connection, because that person might leave the company, and again, the email ID will be deactivated and the Fusion connection might not work anymore, right? So this is the best practice, basically, to create a generic service account or a service account. And in this approach, we have used basically a shared mailbox, okay, as a generic account. Okay, and we have followed all these steps to get this shared mailbox connection created in Workfront Fusion. Okay, I hope this was useful. You have an amazing day.